This is Ian. I've been an independent publisher for more than 10 years. I'm going to be talking about some popular books and the design choices that went into the cover and kind of comment on that. The first book that I want to talk about is this one, Stephen King, The Running Man. And the second book is this one, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Susanna Clark is the author. And when you look at these two covers, The Running Man and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, what do you notice? What do you notice about them compared to maybe books that you purchased in the past? Well, the first thing that stands out to me is there's no real clear image. Like, there's no picture of the running man's face here. You just see a bunch of shadowy boots on cobblestones. It's not even clear what this is unless you read the book a little bit. This is a raven in flight that has some relationship to the title there. So those are the first two elements. And nowadays, in many types of publishing environments, people don't even pay that much attention to the design elements on the book in terms of making some obviously clear image that people will say, oh, that's Mr. Norrell, or that's the running man. It's just oftentimes very abstract and very, very minimalist. Compare that with this book right here. This is about a 20-year-old edition of Sword of the Lictor and Citadel of the Autarch by Gene Wolfe. It does have a very striking image on the front, even though it's kind of reduced to about 1/3 the size of the page. But nowadays, a lot of books, they just do away with all that stuff completely. It's just the title of the book, author, and then an endorsement on the front. And both of them follow that. You can see that here. It's the author, it's the biggest text, Running Man, secondary, and then the New York Times best-selling author. By the way, I think this book was originally published as Richard Bachman, and indeed it notes that, but it's just putting Stephen King like right at the top there because that's the big draw. So besides that, both of these books, they kind of share that approach, kind of vague imagery, very minimalistic, and then really easy to see text. The reason for the really easy to see text is because when you shrink it to thumbnail size on Amazon and you're browsing through your mobile application, this will stand out, even if it's a tiny little thumbnail image. Same thing with this, okay? If the text is too small, it just won't come out. And with this book, I don't even know if this edition is available on Amazon anymore, but once you shrink this to thumbnail size, it's really hard to make out individual elements. You probably will be able to see a little bit of this picture here and figure out that it's a guy on a horse, or some sort of futuristic horse, but all this stuff is going to start to wash out, like such as the author's name. It'll be really hard to see when this is shrunk to thumbnail size. You'll notice that the contrast is very distinct. White text on black background. Here we have, blue on black, and then white on this kind of film noir style picture that they have on the front here. If you look at books that are even like 10 years older, like this one, you can see that the designers really hadn't figured out that the thumbnail size, it was really important to be able to see everything clearly. So even though this is a fantastic title for the book, it has like a blue ash text on like a gray background, which is really hard to see once you start to shrink it to thumbnail size. And then these are abstract images indeed, but once you shrink it to thumbnail size, you just won't be able to see much of that. This photo will probably show up a bit better. So those are some of the things that are taking place in the world of publishing right now. I mean, people, when they're selling books, whether you're a big publishing house or you're a small independent publisher, or maybe you're a self-published author, you want to make it easy for people to, when they're browsing through thousands of titles on Amazon, you want to make it easy for people to see what you're selling, the book that you're selling, what it's about. The title has to be easy to read, as does the author's name. If there is any sort of New York Times endorsement or New York Review of Books type of thing, you want that to show up somewhere, hopefully pretty prominently on the front. If you can't fit it on the front, then what you do is you put those endorsements on the back of the cover. And then don't obsess about what the main image is going to be. It doesn't have to be much. It can even just be kind of a very vague design. Or if you are going to use an image, just make sure it's really clear that what the association is with the book. So, for instance, if you were writing a book about like financial literacy or health or something like that, a very simple image you could use is just like a graph with a line going up, like showing like financial growth. I think people would get that, and that would be appropriate for the genre. But I wouldn't be getting into any sort of deeply symbolic type of cover or things that people won't be able to figure out right away or requires a lot of work. Okay, so those are my thoughts. I'm an independent publisher. I've been doing this for more than 10 years, mostly in the nonfiction field, but I like talking about fiction because some interesting things are always going on there. And of course, I love reading books too. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. And if you want to learn more about me, there's a link in the bio which will tell you more. See you later.